Hollywood in its heyday was always shrouded in a dazzling aura, where the public believed that movie stars possessed not only beauty and talent, but also the perfect intelligence and sophistication of screen icons. However, behind the bright lights and meticulously crafted interviews, the reality was sometimes complex and far different from the imagination. In the powerful studio system of that era, image and the ability to attract audiences were paramount. Stars were built up as living legends. But the real people behind the scenes didn't always match that image. Amidst the demanding production process and the pressure of fame, many behind-the-scenes stories revealed a stark gap between the glamour and reality. Looking back, we see that Hollywood is not just a world of dreams, but also a place where the perfect, staged beauty and the very human aspects of life coexist. It is this very contrast that creates a special allure, making the public both admire and endlessly curious about this glamorous world. If you find this content interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on fascinating stories behind the Hollywood glamour. Charlie Chaplin, the cinematic genius behind the image of the diminutive tramp, created Little Tramp. A seemingly clumsy, naive character with a wobbly gait, a bowler hat, baggy clothes, and a familiar cane. Yet one of the most enduring icons in film history, in the eyes of early audiences. Chaplin was often seen as an actor with a natural sense of humor, delivering laughter instinctively. However, behind that simple appearance and seemingly spontaneous comedic moments lay a deeply creative mind and a rare level of artistic control. Chaplin was not just an actor. He was the architect of his entire cinematic world. He was directly involved in almost every stage of production, from scriptwriting and directing to acting, editing and controlling the narrative rhythm. The seemingly spontaneous moments of humor on screen are actually the result of meticulous and relentless repetition. Some scenes, lasting only a few dozen seconds, require hundreds of takes to achieve absolute precision in every gesture, glance, and movement. This perfectionism helped him shape a highly expressive cinematic language, where images can tell their own story without dialogue. Chaplin's ability to tell stories through images far surpassed many of his contemporaries. He understood how to use rhythm, composition, and contrast to guide the viewer's emotions, transforming seemingly simple stories into experiences with rich layers of meaning. His works not only provided laughter, but also expanded the boundaries of cinema as an independent art form. Many of the techniques he used later became fundamental in modern film education, demonstrating a profound influence that transcended his time. More than just an artist, Chaplin was a sharp thinker with a keen observation of society and politics. He co-founded the United Artists with other prominent figures, a crucial turning point that helped artists regain creative and financial control from the studio system. Through works like Modern Times and The Great Dictator, he not only told stories but also reflected social upheavals, while simultaneously offering a courageous critical perspective on the modern world. Chaplin's thinking was influenced by many fields, from literature and philosophy to economics and politics, demonstrating a broad understanding and exceptional ability to connect ideas. One of Chaplin's most impressive aspects was his all-around creative capacity. He could handle almost every role in the filmmaking process, from acting to post-production, and even composed music for his own works. This rare combination of artistic skill and organizational thinking helped him build a unique cinematic style. His famous statement about being just a clown seems simple, but it reflects a deeper meaning, where outward humility conceals a superior artistic intellect. The gap between the diminutive Little Tramp on screen and Chaplin's true self is a prime example of the paradox of Hollywood's golden age. Cute, simple icons are often perceived by the public in a simplistic way, while the reality behind them lies a complex, sophisticated, and strategically driven creative world. This very contrast is what has contributed to the enduring vitality of Chaplin's legacy in world film history. Shemp Howard, a familiar face from the comedy group Three Stooges, often appeared on screen with a disheveled appearance. Messy hair, clumsy gestures, and goofy expressions, easily leading audiences to believe he was simply a clumsy clown. In the eyes of the public and many critics at the time, Howard didn't seem like the kind of artist who needed much depth, but rather someone born to serve chaotic slapstick comedy. However, behind that seemingly simple exterior was a man with a tight financial mind and money management skills far beyond his on-screen image. Unlike many stars who are easily swept up in extravagant spending, Shemp Howard stood out for his discipline in controlling his personal finances. He was said to be very careful in tracking income and expenses, keeping detailed records, and finding ways to optimize investments and tax obligations, instead of relying on luck. He developed systematic analytical methods for assessing risk and opportunity, to the point that many in the accounting and finance fields at the time held him in high regard. Remarkably, these skills were in stark contrast to the foolish image he projected on stage during the 1929 economic crisis. Howard's observational and reactive abilities were considered particularly effective. He capitalized on the market downturn to make opportunistic investment decisions, focusing on stocks and real estate when their value plummeted. This approach not only preserved his assets, but also increased their value during a turbulent period when most others suffered heavy losses. While not as widely recognized as professional investors, his financial choices demonstrated a remarkable calculated and practical mindset. By the 1940s, stories of Shemp Howard's financial prowess began to spread among Hollywood artists. Some colleagues witnessed him taking breaks between filming to discuss stocks, commodities, and economic trends, displaying a deep understanding and clear analytical skills far beyond his on-screen comedic persona. He himself succinctly stated, "On stage he played the fool, but in the financial world he thought quite differently." This statement partly reflects the clear separation between his artistic persona and his true self. Upon his death in the mid-1950s, Shemp Howard left behind a considerable fortune compared to the average comedian of the time. This figure demonstrates not only his success in entertainment, but also his ability to build lasting financial stability, something not every star could achieve. Looking back on his career, the public gradually realized that the image of the clumsy clown on screen was only part of the story, while behind the scenes was a pragmatic individual who knew how to observe opportunities and manage his life with remarkable composure. Shemp Howard thus became a prime example of the contrast between public image and true self in the entertainment industry, where an artist can make audiences laugh with on-screen silliness, but at the same time, navigate their life with astonishing calculation and rationality. Judy Holliday, an Oscar-winning actress, became widely known for her role as Billy Dawn in Born, Yesterday, a seemingly naive, uninformed blonde who only matures through self-learning. This role was so successful that many viewers assumed Holliday's real-life personality was similar to the character. Cute, innocent, and not particularly intellectually outstanding. This connection between her on-screen persona and real life was further solidified by her subsequent roles, where she often portrayed characters who were somewhat clumsy, naive, yet emotionally rich and endearing. Over time, the line between her on-screen persona and real life blurred in public perception, leading few to see the true depth of her personality behind the comedic facade. In reality, Judy Holliday was one of Hollywood's most remarkable intellectuals of her time. She is known for her exceptionally high IQ and was a member of Mensa, an organization for people with superior intelligence. Born in New York as Judith Tuvim, Holliday showed exceptional talent in language, music, and memorization from a young age. She could grasp a script quickly after just one reading, and demonstrated the ability to analyze language and dialogue structure accurately and subtly. Beyond being an actress, she also possessed a distinctly academic mindset, with a deep interest in literature, philosophy, and art. During her work with director George Cukor on Born Yesterday, Holliday impressed audiences with her ability to seamlessly transition between two completely contrasting states. At times discussing intellectual ideas and complex concepts, and at other times instantly transforming into a naive, uninformed character. This sophisticated control was not just acting skill, but also the ability to manipulate the audience's perception, making viewers completely believe in the image she portrayed on screen. In the tense Hollywood of the McCarthy era, Judy Holliday also demonstrated considerable acumen and composure. When summoned to testify before the House Committee on African American Affairs, she chose a tactful approach, maintaining an ambiguous and cautious tone in her responses, thereby avoiding risks that could have affected her career. This handling of the situation reflected not only calmness, but also intelligent adaptability in a high-pressure political environment. Beyond her acting career, Holliday had a rich spiritual life, deeply connected to music, literature, and writing. She wrote letters, exchanged ideas with many contemporary intellectuals, and maintained a deep interest in various artistic fields, although many aspects of this were rarely known to the public. In the eyes of her family and colleagues, she was a sophisticated woman with profound thinking and keen observation skills, completely different from the innocent image that cinema often attributed to her. It was this contrast between her on-screen persona and her real-life personality that made Judy Holliday so special in Hollywood history. She achieved brilliant success embodying seemingly simple characters, while possessing a rich intellectual life and refined thinking. The combination of her acting talent, intelligence, and ability to control her public image made her a charming yet profound icon, leaving a lasting mark on the memory of world cinema. Lucille Ball, a legendary icon of American television comedy, through her portrayal of Lucy Ricardo, the housewife who inadvertently finds herself in hilarious and awkward situations, easily led the public to identify with the character on screen, thus forming the impression that she was as clumsy, impulsive, and naive as she appeared. But behind that radiant smile and energetic acting style lay a sharp strategic mind, a businesswoman with a practical mindset and a rare foresight in the entertainment industry at the time. The combination of her artistic charisma and managerial skills allowed her to break free from the familiar stereotypes of Hollywood women, where they were often limited to performance roles rather than creative power. Together with her husband Dacey Arnaz, Lucille Ball co-founded Desilu Productions, but over time, it was her decisiveness and vision that shaped the company's growth. During the production of I Love Lucy, she resolutely changed the way television was filmed by switching to 35mm film and moving the entire process to Hollywood. Despite skepticism from broadcasters accustomed to direct production in New York, this decision was not only technical, but also demonstrated long-term strategic thinking, as she quickly recognized the value of archiving, replaying, and exploiting content in the future. This move helped lay the foundation for the modern television business model, where the value of content extends beyond the first broadcast and across various distribution channels. After her divorce in 1960, Lucille Ball further solidified her position by acquiring full control of the company, becoming the first woman to run a major television production company in Hollywood. This was a groundbreaking milestone, not only personally, but also historically in the entertainment industry, as a female artist transformed herself into a truly powerful leader in content production. Under her leadership, Desilu continuously expanded her influence and became the birthplace of many iconic television projects, including Star Trek and Mission Impossible series initially considered risky but later becoming global cultural legacies. Her decision to invest in these projects demonstrated an ability to assess content potential far beyond the industry's usual standards. In her leadership role, Lucille Ball always prioritized creative quality and the long-term viability of the product, while maintaining tight control over content development direction. This approach clearly demonstrates a mindset that goes beyond mere artistry, encompassing a distinct managerial and strategic perspective rare among television producers of her time. She once admitted that her humorous, sometimes chaotic on-screen persona was a stark contrast to her real-life persona, where she operated as a serious and calculating executive. This contrast further highlights her ability to control her personal image and her flexibility in navigating the two worlds of entertainment and business. Lucille Ball left her mark not only as a brilliant comedian, but also as a pioneer who transformed the way American television operated. Her legacy lies not only in the laughter audiences once loved, but also in the industry structure she helped shape. The blend of performing arts, business acumen, and leadership skills has transformed her into one of the most influential figures in entertainment history, transcending the image of a mere star to become an icon of intelligence and power in modern media. George Raft, one of the iconic and haunting figures of Hollywood gangster films, left his mark on film history thanks to his cool demeanor, steely gaze, and naturally dangerous and unpredictable aura. From his role in Scarface 1932 to Each Dawn I Die 1939, he portrayed quiet, taciturn gangsters always ready to confront violence. His convincing acting made audiences easily believe that Raft in real life resembled the characters he portrayed. Tough, aloof, and mysterious. However, behind that seemingly indifferent and cold exterior lay a contrasting reality. Raft often struggled to grasp scripts and handle the complex details of the story. Several directors at Warner Bros. admitted that working with Raft required a special process, instead of simply reading and grasping the script like other actors. He often needed direct explanations of each scene right before filming, almost never having the habit of preparing thoroughly beforehand. Coming from the working-class neighborhood of Hell's Kitchen, where practical survival skills were more important than academic education, Raft left school very early, which inadvertently created limitations when entering the Hollywood environment, which demanded the ability to analyze scripts, grasp the plot, and adjust his acting to the psychological development of the character. Many screenwriters have commented that he didn't actually read his lines completely, but often memorized them by listening to others read them and repeating them many times until he knew them by heart. These limitations became even more apparent when he participated in projects with complex structures. In Background to Danger 1943, where Raft played a double agent, the character required subtlety in handling overlapping identities and psychology. However, according to many behind-the-scenes accounts, the production team had to spend considerable time explaining the concept of dual roles and simplifying the approach to the character to ensure filming progress. Some producers even frankly admitted that if the script had any minor changes, they almost had to start over, because Raft could hardly adjust to the new dialogue or situations on his own. One of the most regrettable decisions in his career was refusing the role of Sam Spade in The Maltese Falcon 1941, a film that later became a classic and elevated Humphrey Bogart to iconic status. Although Raft gave reasons for not wanting to continue with the familiar gangster image, many inside sources suggest that he struggled to grasp the depth and complex structure of the story, ultimately leading to the role going to someone else. This is considered a major turning point, affecting the trajectory of his career afterward. Nevertheless, George Raft maintained his unique position in Hollywood for many years. Instead of pursuing roles requiring complex psychological transformations, he chose to stick with the image that made him famous. A cold, decisive, taciturn, but powerful man, this limitation, instead of becoming a weakness, inadvertently created a distinctive and unmistakable style. The simplicity of his performance allowed him to focus on his eyes, gait, and demeanor elements that directly touch the audience's emotions without needing excessive dialogue or complex internal analysis. In a film industry that values flexibility and diversity, George Raft took a completely different approach, remaining true to his own identity and maximizing what he does best. He wasn't the type of actor who delved deeply into script analysis or complex psychological transformations, but possessed the ability to convey genuine and powerful feelings simply through his presence. That's precisely why his portrayal of gangsters carries such special weight, leaving a lasting impression on film history. George Raft is therefore remembered not only as an actor in crime films, but also as a prime example of transforming personal limitations into artistic style. While many stars constantly expand their capabilities to adapt, he chose to narrow the scope and delve into the essence of a single type of role. The result is a clear, consistent, and enduring cinematic image proof that sometimes simplicity and honesty in expression can create a more lasting impact than complexity and diversity. Stephen Fletcher, born Lincoln Perry, is one of the most prominent and deeply controversial figures in Hollywood film history. He is widely known, but also associated with much debate for his portrayal of the slow, clumsy, stuttering, and listless black man on screen, a type of role that was common in early American cinema, but is now seen as a manifestation of racial prejudice. These roles brought laughter to contemporary audiences, but also reinforced flawed and unjust stereotypes about the black community in society at the time. However, behind this controversial persona lay a completely different man, sharp, perceptive, and with a clear strategic mind. Lincoln Perry quickly realized that in the 1920s, opportunities for black actors were extremely limited. And if they did exist, they were often confined to stereotypical roles, instead of accepting a marginalized position. He chose a more complex path, leveraging existing patterns as a means to enter the film industry, thereby establishing his personal position within a system that is not easily changed. In real life, Perry is described as a man of refined manners, sharp intellect, and keen observational skills. He wrote for the Chicago Defender, demonstrating his understanding of society, media, and the workings of the entertainment industry. Beyond his acting career, he also thoroughly researched contracts, finances, and film distribution mechanisms, surprising many producers who recognized the stark difference between his on-screen persona and his true self behind the scenes. This understanding gave him a significant advantage in negotiations, something uncommon for many black artists at the time. Perry openly admitted that he was able to achieve high earnings by cultivating an image that suited audience tastes, in a context where the average income of American workers was still quite low. His achievement of substantial remuneration made him one of the rare figures in the black artistic community at the time who could accumulate significant financial wealth. He chose to leverage the system rather than directly confront it, viewing it as a survival strategy in a barrier-ridden environment. His economic success provided him with a stable material life and a distinct position compared to many of his contemporaries. Lincoln Perry's legacy is multifaceted and has many layers of meaning. On one hand, the characters he portrayed contributed to perpetuating negative stereotypes in popular culture, leaving a lasting impact on how the public perceives black people on screen. On the other hand, it is undeniable that he was also a highly adaptable individual, knowing how to leverage circumstances to build a career and achieve financial success within a system rife with inequality. His story, thus, reflects both the limitations of his time and the complexity of an individual's choices caught between social pressure and the desire for self-improvement. In retrospect, Lincoln Perry was not simply an actor associated with controversial roles, but a unique case study showcasing the intersection of art, prejudice, and personal survival strategies. Behind the seemingly simple and humorous on-screen persona lay a man with keen observational, calculating, and adaptable abilities. This very contrast makes his story a complex yet crucial part of American cinematic history, where the boundaries between art, commerce, and society are always closely intertwined. Joe E. Brown, widely known as Hollywood's big-mouthed clown, is one of the most iconic comedic figures of the classic film era. With his signature grin that stretches across almost his entire face, his lively expressions, and his natural ability to exaggerate emotions, he easily captivated audiences. Brown's roles often revolved around the image of down-to-earth, sometimes clumsy but kind-hearted young men, always caught up in ironic situations that elicited light-hearted and charming laughter. This image led the public to automatically perceive him as a simple, even somewhat naive, comedian on screen. However, behind that humorous exterior lay a man with a sharp mind and astonishing mathematical abilities. Born into difficult circumstances and forced to leave school early to earn a living, Brown lacked formal academic training, but developed an exceptionally keen mathematical aptitude. He could handle large multiplications mentally, estimate complex numbers, and quickly spot discrepancies in data without the need for tools. This contrast between his clown image and his practical intelligence surprised many who worked with him. Some behind-the-scenes stories even recount Brown's impressive ability to spot errors in financial spreadsheets on set in a short amount of time, something that an entire team would take hours to resolve. His ability to observe numbers wasn't formally academic, but rather intuitive and naturally sharp, allowing him to approach problems differently from those with professional training. In the difficult context of the early 20th century economic crisis, Brown is believed to have maintained financial stability thanks to his excellent observational and analytical skills. He was not merely an entertainer, but also demonstrated a certain understanding of personal financial management, helping him navigate numerous economic upheavals without falling into serious crisis. During wartime, Brown also participated in several logistical and organizational support activities, where his quick calculation skills and practical thinking were valued for their usefulness in proposing transportation and resource allocation plans. While not academic or highly theoretical, these contributions revealed another side of him: practical, flexible, and effective in handling situations. Joe E. Brown thus became a unique case in Hollywood history, an artist whom the public saw as humorous, approachable, and somewhat simple. But behind that facade was a man with logical thinking and intuition far exceeding expectations. The contrast between his stage persona and his real-life persona created a unique portrait, contributing to his status as one of the unforgettable figures of the golden age of cinema. Judy Garland, a vocal prodigy in Hollywood. Known for her ability to convey deep emotion and powerful stage presence, captivated audiences with every lyric and every movement on stage. Despite her rare talent and enduring influence in film history, she was often described by those close to her as someone with significant gaps in her basic life knowledge, creating a stark contrast between her artistic glamour and personal reality. One sound engineer shared that Garland possessed a strong artistic intuition and emotional performance. Especially in front of the camera, but off stage, she sometimes revealed a lack of general knowledge. On one occasion, she questioned the geographical location of Australia, highlighting a limited level of her overall education. The main reason stems from her early entry into the entertainment industry as a teenager, signing a contract with MGM. This led to her formal education being replaced by on-set classes that were primarily for compliance with labor regulations rather than genuine education. In that environment, Garland's learning was not structured, significantly disrupting her academic foundation. Some former MGM employees even suggested that those in charge of on-set education acted more as supervisors than as true educators. As a result, even as an adult, and at the peak of her career, Garland struggled with basic knowledge, including writing and simple calculations, which sometimes hindered her work and personal life. During her career, there were instances that highlighted her unfamiliarity with everyday concepts. While filming Easter Parade, she reportedly inquired about the timing of Easter and was confused to learn that it wasn't fixed like Christmas. Similar limitations also appeared in financial situations, where she struggled with basic percentage calculations, making income management more complicated despite being a high-earning star. Simultaneously, Judy Garland was described as someone who strongly trusted others, sometimes accepting advice naturally without much doubt. This personality trait made her dependent on her team, including those providing professional or medical support. According to some accounts, the continuous use of prescribed medications to maintain her performance energy gradually led to serious consequences, affecting her health and life over the long term, despite the many hidden aspects of her personal life. Judy Garland is recognized as one of the greatest singers and performers of the 20th century. Her legacy lies not only in her vocal technique and acting abilities, but also in the emotional power she conveyed to audiences through each of her roles. It is this combination of extraordinary talent and a tumultuous life that has made her a brilliant yet thought-provoking icon in Hollywood history. Marilyn Monroe, the blonde icon associated with the image of innocent charm, and one of Hollywood's most controversial figures, is often perceived by the public through the simplistic lens that cinema at the time unintentionally or intentionally created. With her distinctive voice, half-innocent, half-seductive demeanor, and iconic roles like Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and Some Like It Hot, she built an image that was both captivating and easily misinterpreted, leading many to equate her on-screen persona with her real-life self. This ambiguity allowed the silly blonde girl image to take deep root in public perception, obscuring the more subtle and complex aspects of her personality. In reality, Marilyn Monroe, born Norma Jean Mortensen, was not the simple personality the public often portrays her as. She grew up in unstable circumstances, experienced many upheavals early in life, and had virtually no formal education. However, instead of being limited by her circumstances, she developed a strong habit of self-learning. Monroe's personal library is said to contain hundreds of books on various fields such as literature, philosophy, psychology, and politics, with detailed handwritten notes in the margins. Her repeated reading of complex works, from modern literature to classics, shows a deep interest in human thought and inner life. Far beyond the entertainment star image the public usually associates with her, beyond her intellectual life, Monroe also demonstrated considerable initiative in her career. She didn't just remain an actress, but sought to expand her control over her work by venturing into production. Establishing her own company was a bold move in a film industry then heavily dominated by large studios, where actors, especially women, often had very little say. Instead of accepting a dependent position, Monroe carefully examined the contract terms, proactively assessed the disadvantages, and resolutely renegotiated to gain greater autonomy. In this process, she not only confronted the studio system, but also gradually built her position as an individual capable of understanding and operating the business aspects of the entertainment industry. Those who worked with her noted her remarkable ability to analyze contracts and identify inconsistencies. Alongside her career, Monroe also demonstrated a clear awareness of controlling her image in the media. She repeatedly expressed her desire not to be merely a comedic figure in the public eye, and always tried to adjust how she appeared in interviews. This shows that she was not entirely passive in the face of how she was perceived, but rather actively tried to influence how the story about her was told, although not always successfully against the power of mass media. The contrast between her on-screen image and real life has created one of Hollywood's most distinctive paradoxes. A woman with profound intellect and a desire for independence became a global icon thanks to the very simplified image constructed by the entertainment industry. This disparity made Marilyn Monroe not just a film star, but a complex cultural phenomenon where talent, prejudice, and image strategies are inextricably intertwined. Her legacy lies not only in her iconic roles or artistic influence, but also in the story of an individual constantly seeking to redefine herself within a system that tends to confine people to pre-existing molds. This makes Marilyn Monroe a timeless icon, while simultaneously prompting much reflection on how the public perceives the intellect, image, and true value of a person within the entertainment industry. Tony Curtis, one of Hollywood's most handsome and charismatic leading men, built his reputation on his captivating looks, confident demeanor, and ability to command the camera whenever he appeared. However, behind that glamorous facade lay a less discussed aspect. Curtis sometimes revealed significant gaps in his foundational knowledge, surprising even his longtime collaborators. A director who worked with him in the 1960s recounted that Curtis had an excellent ability to memorize lines, reading them fluently and accurately on set, but didn't always grasp their deeper meaning. There were times when he would perfectly complete a scene, only to later question what he had just performed. This created an interesting contrast between his superficial performance skills and his level of understanding of the underlying content. Curtis left high school early, and this educational gap became increasingly apparent as he entered the professional film industry. During the filming of The Vikings, he once questioned whether Vikings actually existed in history, initially leading Kirk Douglas to believe it was a joke. When Douglas realized it was a serious question, he had to explain basic historical facts during a break. Curtis's genuine surprise at common concepts shows that he sometimes views the world through a rather naive lens. Similar misunderstandings aren't limited to history. They occur in many other contexts while working on The Great Race. Director Blake Edwards repeatedly had to explain simple geographical concepts because Curtis sometimes imagined traveling between continents as simply moving between cities by road. During a Yuzo tour, he also questioned the location of Asian countries, demonstrating a fundamental confusion about world maps. These situations are both humorous and reflect the gap between the star's image and actual knowledge. Even in the financial world, Curtis didn't always make decisions based on rigorous analysis. Despite earning substantial incomes throughout his career, he still made some impulsive investments, sometimes lacking thorough research. There's a recounted instance of him spending a significant amount on a seemingly sound business idea without proper due diligence, leading to unexpected results. Such decisions contribute to the image of an artist who lives more by intuition than by long-term planning. Nevertheless, Tony Curtis maintained a strong position in Hollywood for decades. His appeal stemmed not only from his appearance, but also from his ability to connect with audiences. His expressive versatility and his natural acting instincts, even without always deeply analyzing the script's content. He could still convey emotions convincingly on screen. Tony Curtis thus became a unique case in film history. A star whose appeal lay not in erudition or intellectual depth, but in his natural performance instinct and pure personal charisma. It was this combination of charisma, intuition, and natural demeanor that made him an unforgettable icon of Hollywood, where sometimes emotion and presence can be just as important as theoretical knowledge. Jane Mansfield, one of Hollywood's most iconic sex symbols of its golden age, captivated the public not only with her alluring looks and radiant demeanor, but also with the intriguing contrast between her on-screen image and her true self behind the scenes. With her signature blonde hair and ever-present smile, she was often typecast by studios as the innocent blonde, a simplified image that easily appealed to the general public. However, behind that glamorous facade lay a multi-layered personality, where intelligence, perceptiveness, and gaps in perception coexisted, creating an unpredictable persona. In her personal profile, Mansfield is described as having a remarkable educational background. She attended Southern Methodist University and UCLA, and has repeatedly claimed to possess a high IQ and fluency in several languages. This information contributes to the image of a star who not only possesses striking beauty, but also exceptional intelligence and understanding. However, those who have worked closely with her have noted several contradictory moments, where Mansfield displayed surprisingly broad knowledge gaps, leaving those around her both astonished and puzzled. One director shared that Mansfield has the ability to make a strong impression from the very first conversation, often by quoting philosophical sayings or famous quotes. However, upon deeper discussion, people gradually realize that she mainly memorizes the words rather than fully understanding the meaning behind them. On one occasion, she even confused a famous thinker with the cartoon character Betty Boop, yet still presented her findings confidently. Such details have led many to question the boundary between her public image and her actual understanding in everyday life. Not only in philosophy or culture, Mansfield sometimes displayed a lack of understanding of basic life skills. A makeup artist once recounted asking if drinking hydrogen peroxide could harm the body, and when warned of the dangers. She even admitted to having tried it. Such stories were both shocking and reinforced the image of the superficial blonde that the media often portrayed at the time. Although the accuracy of these accounts remains a subject of debate, it's noteworthy that Mansfield seemed to understand the power of her image. In many public appearances, she deliberately emphasized her awkwardness, sometimes exaggerating her naivety or clumsiness to create humor and attract media attention. This can be seen as a form of personal branding strategy, where her naivety became a tool to help her stand out in a highly competitive Hollywood. However, over time, the line between her on-screen persona and her true self became blurred, making her image both proactive and shaped by public opinion. In her personal life, Mansfield also faced considerable financial difficulties. Some associates noted that she sometimes failed to distinguish between her actual earnings and total income, leading to overspending. At one point, after receiving a substantial fee, she quickly overspent, only to discover she was in debt. Despite this, she maintained a lavish and extravagant lifestyle, rarely being frugal with her spending. A hallmark of the image she cultivated, despite the differing opinions. It's undeniable that Jane Mansfield holds a special place in Hollywood history. Her combination of beauty, stage presence, and ability to shape public image has made her an irreplaceable icon. It is the contradictions between the glamorous exterior, the media image, and the hidden aspects of everyday life that have created a captivating yet complex portrait, leaving the public both admiring and curious. And to this day, sparking endless debate about the true person behind that glamour. Mickey Rooney is one of the few Hollywood stars whose career spanned nearly 9 decades, a rare journey that began as a child actor in the 1920s and continued into the late 20th century. From the silent film era to the musical theater age, and then to the golden age of Hollywood, Rooney maintained his place with the Andy Hardy series and many outstanding works alongside Judy Garland. His enduring career not only demonstrates his innate talent, but also reflects his ability to adapt flexibly to the ever-changing landscape of the film industry. Rooney was a well-rounded artist, natural acting, a good singer, a skilled dancer, and always possessing a powerful stage presence, making him one of the most prominent Hollywood prodigies. He could seamlessly switch between comedy and drama, between exuberance and profound emotion, thus winning the hearts of audiences across generations. Rooney's image is associated with youthfulness, enthusiasm, and boundless vitality. However, behind the glamour lies a life full of contradictions. Some colleagues believe Rooney sometimes relies more on intuition than script analysis, leaving him in need of assistance in grasping the structure of his roles. Even in his old age, he sometimes struggles with non-chronological scene construction, highlighting the difference between acting instinct and systematic thinking. Rooney's financial life has also been turbulent. Despite earning substantial incomes, he has repeatedly faced difficulties due to poor money management and unfavorable contracts. This creates the image of a successful screen star struggling in his personal life. Furthermore, Rooney sometimes displays a naive worldview, with simple misunderstandings about geography or life in general, and a strong belief in projects of uncertain importance. Despite this, he has maintained an optimistic spirit and a lasting love for his profession for decades. It was the combination of talent, performance energy, complex personal experiences, and a touch of innocence that made Mickey Rooney a unique figure in Hollywood history, an artist both brilliant on screen and multifaceted in real life. leaving a profound mark through nearly a century of dedication. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. If you found it interesting, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. Don't forget to leave a comment below. We love to hear your thoughts and opinions.